If you lose in the opening, maybe it's not about memorizing, maybe it's not about new tricks, it's about mindset problems. Hi, I'm Grandmaster Shine. Welcome to my channel, and today I'm gonna teach you 3 big misunderstandings about openings. Now, if you watch this video until the end, I can assure you the level of your opening will be improved significantly. Let me explain the first big misunderstanding. Believing the opening finishes after the development, and it's wrong. By the way, it's where the main job starts. After you understand the development, you need to know about much more of that position. Let me show you an example. Here in this position, it happened after the 10th move in the opening that's called Benko Gambit. Now, if we start from the first move, d4, knight f6, c4, c5, d5, b5. The purpose of this opening is black tries to sacrifice a pawn for some counterplay in the middle game. Now, this is where both sides almost finish development. Going castle, develop some pieces, but the job's not finished. If you play this opening from black, you need to know more than this. You need to know about your plans. You need to know about the best place for each of those pieces. You need to know about your opponent's plan. You need to know about pawn structure. You need to know either it's good to change the pieces or not, and much more. For example, in this position, if I ask you which is the best square for the knight on h6, you need to tell me I would play c4, knight c5, or knight b4, and try to put the knight on the outpost of d3. Now, if I ask you what is the best square for the queen, you should tell me b6 or a5. What is the best places for the rooks? You should tell me it's almost about b8 and a8. Now, that's it, guys. And you need to know about your opponent's plan as well. For example, in this position, because white has one more pawn, trading the pieces usually is good for white. And trying to break the center is another wise idea. For example, playing queen e2, bishop f4, rook f e1, trying to play e5. I can explain much more than that. I can explain about the knight on f6, which this knight can go from this square to this square and then c4. Or another idea that the top grandmasters plays are knight e8, knight c7, and then after a while, for example, queen d7, knight goes to b5. So, as you can see, each openings you are playing, instead of just trying to memorizing, or instead of thinking that development is the end of the world, that's not. Try to understand the middle game and all of those details that I explained you as well. How you can do that? First of all, you can watch top grandmasters games. If you watch 100 games of those players, you will learn a lot. You can find some similarities behind those games, and then you can just act as they do. Another source of studying is you study those courses, online courses, or you read some books that another write about those opening. Also, you need to play them and you need to analyze your own game, or you can use a mentor. Then they will explain you how you can do on the middle game. And that's the first big misunderstanding that you need to know. So from now on, try to understand more of those openings. Try to understand the scenarios that can happen after the opening as well. Now let's go to the second big misunderstanding. Now the second one is switching your opening every time you lose. And I actually see this in many amateurs. Now some players may think that because the opening is bad they are losing. And that's wrong. Every opening can be good if you practice them. Now instead of switching the opening, try to repair those. For example, look at this position. Let's say that you are playing Queen's Gambit from black, and after a few moves I can show you even from the start. For example, d4 knight f6, c4, e6, knight c2, d5, take. And after a few moves, this position arrives, and your opponent played b4, trying to play b5, changing the pawns, for example, opening the line for the rook, and also let's continue the wrong way. Knight f8, b5. Let's say you play knight g6, b takes, rook f c1, trying to make a weakness of your pawn. And in your own game, white attacked after knight a4, and just imagine that you lost that game. So what is the way here? Instead of trying to change it, trying to go to another opening, just say King's Indian, Grunfeld, anything, you need to study this position and you need to understand what gets wrong on the game. So if you study, you understand that the main idea these days that stops the vice b4, b5 is playing b5 ourselves, trying to put the knight from b6 to c4. Now that will be a great outpost. Your knight will be the best possible, and also you cover this line and your pawn on c6. Now, every time you lose, actually you can learn a new thing about your opening. Instead of changing it, instead of switching to another opening, try to repair that opening. Now, after a while, I believe that any opening can be good. If you try to study them, if you try to learn from your own mistake, you will be master of that formation. You will be master of your opening. And that's the best idea possible. Now, let me tell you about the third and the final big misunderstanding. So the final big misunderstanding is trying to play only main lines and trying to think only main lines are good. And that's not true. I can assure you, if you play the rare lines, but you study them deep, as I told you in the second big misunderstanding, it's better than playing the main line, playing the thing that only grandmasters play, but playing that wrong. Now, for example, look at this position. I will explain about that more. It happened after the Sicilian. Now, instead of taking with the knight, white took with the queen, which, as you may know, is a rare line. But that's a nice formation, especially for amateurs and intermediate level, and it's not bad at all. Now, after bishop b2, white's position is okay. You can play rook ac1, rook fd1, and the development is finished. You can go to the nice middle game. So my point here is, exception of some rare openings, like for example a4, h4, some trash openings, normal rail lines can be good as mainlines if you study them hard, if you know about them. Even top grandmasters sometimes try rare lines as well, as you can see in Carson, in Aronian, in other grandmasters games. So the thing here is, playing a good rare line can be as good as mainline, because on that kind of ideas, you can actually surprise your opponent as well. And also those rare lines can be even better than mainline because your opponent doesn't know about them. So to summarize all these subjects, I need you to understand, instead of trying to memorize, instead of trying to learn new tricks every day, try to focus on one or two openings, whether they are main lines or rail lines, but normal and good rail lines. Rail lines that have the support of engine at least, and your position will not get bad. Try to focus on them, try to analyze them, try to learn from your own mistake. Do not switch them. Do not think the opening finishes after the development, and try to go far ahead than that. Try to go to the middle game. Try to imagine, try to practice all the scenarios that can happen, even in the end games. And instead of focusing only on the main line, you can learn one or two rail lines, but good rail lines, normal rail lines, rail lines that can surprise your opponent. and switch them only if your rating level are improved and many other players know about your openings after some level, but you don't need to switch before that. Now, for example, as a grandmaster, I didn't play e4 even one day before I get my title. I was always d4 player. Sometimes I studied knight f3 and c4, but just after I got the title, I had time to study new openings because I wanted to surprise my opponent, and I tried e4 as well. So that's the lesson for today, guy. I hope you learn this. I hope you repair your mindset, and I hope you get better in the opening. If you like this video, subscribe please, turn on the notification, and wait for more contents. I will try to make educational contents, not just for hobby, because I want to teach and help each of you.